If you're new to alcohol markers, this might just be the perfect place for you. I just picked up a box of 48 Ohuhu markers that we're going to be unboxing here today. I'll walk you through what comes in the package as well as how to use these markers. I'll also walk you through some simple techniques on blending so that you can get started with these markers right away. So let's open it up. It's a big box for such a small package. Alright, now that we've opened our 48 pack of Ohuhu markers, let me show you everything that comes inside and what stood out to me right away. The first thing I noticed is just how bright these colors are. When I purchased this, I was a bit worried that 48 markers wouldn't be enough, but there's a really nice range, some neutrals, some brights, and even a few pastels. Perfect if you're brand new and don't want to commit to a huge set. This is a 48 pack, and honestly I expected the blending marker to count as one of the colors, but it doesn't, so that's a pleasant surprise. You actually get 49 markers. This 48 pack is a dual tip marker. It has a brush tip on one side and a chisel tip on the other. Uhoho does have other sets with different nibs, like the fine tip and the soft chisel. A quick way to tell the difference between which side of the marker is, you do have the brush and the chisel description on them, but you'll notice here, if I'm looking at it from the back, there is a silver line here and no silver line here. This is the chisel, this is the brush side, and this is the non-brush side. So if you're just quickly looking at it, you can automatically tell that this is the brush side. Inside this package, you also get 2 color code sheets. These are meant for you to swatch every color so you can see what they really look like on paper. Because let's be honest, the caps never match the colors 100%. Plus you get a page protector sheet. This is basically a plastic mat to put under your artwork to keep the next page clean. And finally, there's a little instruction book. It talks about other products and gives you a couple of tiny beginner tips. Nothing huge, but honestly, it's a pretty decent package altogether. Before you get started with any coloring, I really want to recommend that you fill in the swatch sheet so that you know what color is what. I filled mine in and it only took about 5 minutes. If you're into these kind of art videos, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps my channel grow. Before you get carried away coloring, I wanted to talk to you about paper, because the paper you choose for this craft will significantly impact your results. Not all paper is created equally, and different paper was designed for different things. Printer paper was designed for printing, cardstock was designed for crafting. Before you go out and buy different paper, I recommend that you check out what you have in your house and see if any of those papers will work. I've got cardstock printer paper, coloring books, and sketchbooks that I'm going to try to show different comparisons of how to work with these markers. Printer paper is thin, and alcohol markers bleed through the back really quickly. They also bleed outside of the coloring area, which makes it almost impossible to get clean edges. Cardstock, like the 60-pound cardstock I use for crafting, held the color much better. It didn't bleed as badly, though it did go through a bit at the back. The more ink I put down, the more it bled, but overall, thicker paper gave me a much crisper line. And then there's sketchbooks. I usually buy mine from the dollar store. They vary a lot, but most of them have thicker pages meant for sketching. Depending on the thickness, the bleed amount changed, and so did the crispness of the lines. But honestly, for a beginner, sketchbooks like these are a great investment. There are special sketchbooks made for alcohol markers. I haven't tried them yet because I'm not that advanced, but I linked the Uhoho ones below if you want to try it. If you do, let me know what you think. And finally, there's coloring books. You can buy special coloring books designed for alcohol markers, or you can buy adult coloring books at your bookstores or at your dollar store. These are great for practicing how to color, and honestly, right now, this seems to be my go-to while I'm learning how to use these markers. Not every coloring book will have a blank side on the back, but if you buy them at the dollar store, it's a good investment to practice with because you can just waste one page and then keep coloring. Each of the books I've purchased in the past has about 30 pages, so there's a lot of coloring for very minimal money. So my final thoughts on paper, I recommend you either buy a coloring book or a sketchbook from your local dollar store. These are great tools to use to learn how to use alcohol markers before you spend a lot of money buying more expensive paper. Let me know in the comments below what paper you're currently using with your alcohol markers. I've been coloring with pencil crayons for a long time, and even that took a lot of practice. But switching to markers, even if it's alcohol or water-based markers, takes a lot of time and practice, so don't expect to be an expert right away. Alcohol markers are wet. Their ink flows quickly and generously, so if your hand moves slowly, the ink will sit and bleed more. When you're using these markers, you want to move your hand quickly so the tip touches the page and keeps moving. Don't linger. And something important to remember, if you like to sketch your drawings first with a pencil and then erase it later, this does not work with alcohol markers. You cannot erase pencil from underneath the alcohol marker as it seals it in. So if you're trying to sketch, you'll need to either learn how to sketch without your pencil first or find a way to hide the pencil marks better. All right, let's talk about blending, because alcohol markers really shine when it comes to layering and shading. If you want simple shading, wait for the first layer to completely dry and then use the same color over the area you want darker. The second layer naturally deepens the color and makes it super easy for shading. But you need to make sure that the first layer is completely dry, and this can take a few minutes, so you have to be patient. If you want to do blending, I recommend using more than 2 colors. You can blend with 2, but 3 gives you a smoother gradient. Here's how it works best for me. First, you want to apply the clear blending marker in the area that you want to color in. Then start with the lightest color and work towards the darker shades. Let each color slightly overlap the previous shade. You have to work quickly. The ink needs to be wet to blend. Go back over the transition lines with your lightest colors to smooth things in. This does take practice, so definitely experiment on scrap paper before using it in your real drawings. Another tip that I have for doing this is I like to hold all 3 markers in my hand with the tops open to help me switch between colors quickly. This allows me to work with my alcohol markers while everything is still wet and not fumble with the markers. I love using strong outlines to make my drawings pop, and I've always used Sharpie for that. But with alcohol markers, it's not always that simple. Sharpie ink and alcohol ink dry at different rates, and they absorb into paper differently. So if you outline before coloring, the wet Sharpie can bleed into the alcohol ink. If you outline after coloring, your alcohol ink might still be wet and cause the Sharpie to feather. So a quick trick that I try to remember is if I'm doing the outline first, I do the outline, then I let it completely dry, and then I'll add color. Likewise, if I want to have an outline at the end, I'll put the color on first, then let it dry completely, and then add my outline. This does add time to the process, but the more you practice, the better you get at timing things out. And I always like to test out my outlines with my markers on a scrap piece of paper first. Remember, different paper reacts differently. As I mentioned earlier, alcohol markers bleed a lot. The more ink you use in one spot, like when you're blending, the more they'll bleed. This set comes with a little protection sheet. You're supposed to put this in behind your page to keep the page underneath clean. This is a great idea, except it's smaller than most of my sketch pages, so I have to move it around, and the ink doesn't dry on the plastic, it just sits there wet. So if I slide it around, the ink will transfer onto the back of my page, and it can bleed up into the section that I'm working on. You can stop and wash the mat in between colors and in between moving the mat around, but this is time consuming. A quick trick is to just use a piece of scrap paper under your drawing. It'll catch most of the ink and stop you from having to worry about bleeding in different areas. And remember, never draw directly on a single sheet of paper on a desktop without something underneath. It will bleed and leave marks on your furniture. And finally, I have a few tips and tricks for you when using alcohol markers. Alcohol markers don't come out of clothes easily, so if you happen to get some on your clothes, rubbing alcohol is your friend. All you need to do is dab it on a cotton swab and dab the clothes gently. Don't scrub it, because that will make it spread. And if you get it on your hands, like I do often, rubbing alcohol also helps you get it off easily. Soap won't always do the trick. You want to store your alcohol markers upright, not sideways. If they're sideways, the ink can pool and cause uneven flow or leaks. I know that may sound counterintuitive, as it could just as easily leak out of the bottom, but that's the current theory for storage. And finally, I've mentioned this before, but if you're new to alcohol markers, I really recommend using a coloring book first. These are great for practicing blending and pressure control, and a great stepping stone to moving into sketching. The dollar stores usually have a ton of options. Just put a protector sheet or a scrap piece of paper between the pages, and you're off to the races. And that's it. That's everything that I've learned while testing these Ohuhu alcohol markers. I think they're a lot of fun to use, and with the right paper, some practice, and some patience, you can get some really beautiful results. So let me know if this video has helped you in your marker journey. Do I like this 48 pack, and will I buy it again? Well, right now, this is the go-to marker at my house, and I have to fight the kids for it. So I think we will be buying it again when they run out. And I think we're going to stick with the 48 pack because there's just enough colors to get by for what we need. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button to let me know. And if you enjoyed this type of a crafting video, be sure to comment below and let me know as well. Thanks so much for watching, and happy crafting.